Revenge films.
One day, my wife suddenly left me. The divorce papers were left on the table with her signature on them. Without any letters of farewell, she left me and our daughter, who was in first grade. She had taken all our savings with her, so I had to survive on the single $100 bill I had in my wallet until I got my salary. When we just got married,
I can't have a man manage our finances.
that was what she said, so I handed her all my salary without being suspicious, and since then my wife had been in charge of our finances. I tried to think of the reason why she left me as much as I could, but I had no idea why. Not only did she leave, the academic insurance of my daughter we had under my wife's name was also canceled, and I really couldn't forgive her for taking all that money with her, too. I wanted to find out where she went, but she wasn't close with her parents and had already lived separately since high school. She told me she'd been living with her grandma since then, but her grandparents had already passed away. She took away all our savings, so I didn't have the money to go look for her anyways. Actually, my parents had already passed away too, so I had no one I could rely on. So since that day, I had to take care of my daughter alone. My daughter was in first grade, so she came home early. I quickly looked for a private childcare facility and signed her up for it. They wanted me to pay beforehand, so I told my friend about what was going on and borrowed some money from him. 5 years later, when my daughter was in 6th grade, my ex-wife contacted me. Although she selfishly left us, she asked me to give back our daughter now that she was getting remarried. Obviously, I was furious. How dare she say that after taking all our money and disappearing into thin air? I told her to give me back all the money, but she was defiant.
Huh? What are you saying? That money was not just yours, so I have the right over it as well.
She completely rejected what I said, but she tells me to give her back our daughter. It turns out that she was getting remarried to a CEO, so she said she'll be rich. I had no plans to hand my daughter over to her, but life wasn't that easy. When I had to work until late, I asked my neighbors for help, but at court they pointed out that it was dangerous to leave a young girl alone late at night. I was also worried to leave her alone, but I thought it was impossible for my ex-wife to take good care of my daughter after she dumped us both once. Regarding how financially stable her new husband was and how she'd be able to take care of her child well as a full-time housewife, she ended up winning custody over my daughter, and I had to hand her over in tears. My daughter was my only hope, so I felt like I was left with a huge hole in my heart, and I had no motivation to do anything, so my neighbors even got worried about me. My ex-wife asked me to pay her child support, but because I hoped for the best for my daughter, I handed half of my salary to her. But to prove that she was really spending the money on my daughter, I asked her to show me the receipts. She sent me the receipts as promised, so I was relieved for a while. But after 2 years, that stopped all of a sudden. I contacted my wife, but she never replied. I was getting worried, so after investigating about her, it turns out she gave birth to a baby. After that, I managed to get in touch with her. Hey, are you taking care of Liz properly? Why are you not answering my calls? You haven't sent me the receipts at all.
It's because I don't know where she is.
Huh? What do you mean?
Actually, I gave birth to a really cute baby.
I don't care about that now. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about now.
My only child right now is my baby, so I can give her back to you. I don't need her anymore.
I knew she was a horrible person who betrayed me, but I didn't know she was this bad. I couldn't take her seriously anymore. I quickly went to search for her all over the city. Then I found my daughter at a convenience store, so I stopped her. Liz, I'm relieved that you're safe. Come on home with Dad.
What are you saying? You abandoned me. There's no way I'm going back with you.
Liz's eyes, that used to smile at me all the time, were now fierce and full of hatred towards me. I'm sorry. I never wanted to separate from you either, but it was the law, so I couldn't do anything.
No, if you're going home, go back alone.
Hey, how dare you talk to your dad like that? He's worried about you and came to pick you up. Go home with him. When I looked in the other direction, there was a man who looked like the leader of a gang group, and it looked like he was urging my daughter to go home with me.
No, I'm staying here.
You never belonged here from the beginning. Go home. It looked like the gang leader was being mean on purpose and made it sound like this wasn't where she should be. Although he was part of a gang, his eyes were somehow kind and pure. He was being mean to her and told her to go home, but she couldn't return to where my ex-wife lived, so she ended up coming with me. Thanks to the gang leader, she came home with me, but she didn't even look at my face in the beginning. But the neighbors who saw that my daughter was back told her how desperate I was to find a way to get her back, and how devastated and upset I was when my ex-wife got custody over her. So she was slowly beginning to trust me again. But one day, something unfortunate happened to my ex-wife. Her husband's company went bankrupt. Amidst that, she gave me a call.
I'm taking Liz back, so pay me child support. Liz is getting older, and now we need more money to take care of her, so you better pay me.
How dare you use that as an excuse? I know you just want the money. First of all, I'm never letting Liz go again.
No matter what you say, I'll end up winning custody over her anyways.
Go on, try me! Now that your husband's company went bankrupt, and considering how horribly you've been treating my daughter, I'm excited to see how they'll react.
Huh? No one knows about it, so it's no big deal.
Then Liz, who took the phone from me, said,
I'll tell everyone. You better be prepared.
Hey, you forced Liz to take your side? Ugh, I wouldn't be receiving any money without her. Give her back to me.
My ex-wife was shrieking, but I hung up on her. This is what I heard later, but it turns out her husband ran away in the night alone once his company went bankrupt. Of course, I didn't forget to have my wife punished. We visited the Child Guidance Center and told them about what my ex-wife did to my daughter. Then my ex-wife was asked to pay me back all the child support I've been paying her. And we found out where she was, so I asked her to pay compensation for cheating on me back then. My ex-wife was already in a lot of debt, but she had to pay me back the child support and compensation money, so she was really about to die, so she could no longer look after her own child, and I heard she gave her baby up for adoption. I think that's best for the baby, though. I feel sorry for the baby if she had to be taken care of by such an awful person like her. 10 years later, now I live in a family of 5 in a 2-family house with my daughter, who got married, and my 2 grandchildren. My daughter's husband is the gang leader who urged her to go home with me with harsh words back then. Actually, right after my daughter moved in with my ex-wife and her husband, she was neglected and was wandering the streets without a place where she belonged. The gang leader who coincidentally saw her in that state welcomed her into his gang on purpose to protect her from weird guys. My daughter always had a crush on the gang leader who always protected her, but she was struggling because he was always cold to her. But after she mustered up her courage and confessed to him, they started dating and they finally got married. Now they live an honest life, unlike how they were in the past. My life was a mess after my ex-wife took away my daughter, but now I have an honest and kind son-in-law, my cute daughter, and even 2 grandchildren with me, and I live a happy life every day. I'm Ryan. I started working as a pharmacist after college. I was living alone until one rainy day something happened to me. I was working overtime and walking home fast in the rain. Then I saw a woman sitting on the park bench soaking wet. It didn't look normal and I approached her. She looked desperate and I couldn't just leave her there, so I invited her to my place. I asked her if she wanted to use the shower and she took it. I offered my clothes and a cup of tea. She thanked me and started telling me her story. She was 23 years old and her ex took her money and took off. She had nowhere to go. She was abandoned by her parents at a younger age and had nowhere to go. It was a terrible situation and I couldn't help but help her. I told her she could stay here for a while. Her name was Kimmy. Once she started to stay at my place, she did all the housework. As I watched her trying hard, I found myself admiring her. A month or so later, she told me how she felt about me and we started dating. Since we became official, she tried even harder with the housework, and I started thinking about marriage. Then a year later, I proposed to her and we got married. We moved into a new apartment and our life together couldn't be better. But after a while, it started to change. She gradually did less housework and lazed around at home. Without working, she was playing video games or talking with friends on the phone until late at night. When I talked to her about it, she would yell back at me.
Why are you blaming me? You're the husband. A husband should just work.
The situation got worse and she rarely made dinner anymore. When I got home tired, there was no dinner for me while she ate out with her friend. One day when I came home, she was playing her game drinking. I couldn't be quiet anymore and told her that she could have called me if there's no dinner for me. Then she brought me a plate with just a dinner roll, grabbed me by the arm with it, and pushed me into the bathroom.
If you want to eat that bad, you can eat it here.
Then she slammed the bathroom door. I was startled by this, and then I heard her bad-mouthing me from the living room. I peeked from the door and saw her doing a live stream on social media about me. I came out of the bedroom and said, "Stop it!"
Look, here is my dumb husband. He has a weird habit of eating in the bathroom.
The live stream was still going on. I was upset and angry, but she didn't take anything I said seriously and kept ridiculing me on the stream, so I went back to my room. Her childish actions and her apparent transformation before and after we got married shocked me, and the love I felt for her once was long gone. Her moral harassment towards me escalated day by day, and I started thinking about divorce. But just kicking her out wasn't enough for me. I wanted her to feel remorse. And I provoked her to keep harassing me so that she would record it for the live stream. When I told my senior colleague Bob about this, he was furious as if it happened to him. He said he would help me with my plan. One night when I got home after a long day, Kimmy was relaxing on the sofa as usual. An empty box of delivery pizza was on the table, and the empty beer cans were lying around. She saw me and said,
You came home just in time. Can you reorder some pizza for me? I used up the money, so can you pay for it from your pocket?
I just got paid a week ago and she used that up already? When I complained about this,
Then you need to earn more. Why don't you have 2 jobs?
she complained back to me. You're doing nothing at home. You should get a job. Just as imagined, she started the live stream.
Hi guys, my husband just moral harassed me. What do you think of a husband who demands forced labor?
I texted Bob to let him know her live stream started. He was supposed to record it, and I provoked her more. How could you call this moral harassment? I just told the truth. You do nothing and drink at home, no housework, but yelling at me all the time. Then she got mad and threw an empty can at me.
Shut up, it was you who picked me up and brought me here. I pretended to be domestic a little and you married me. Such a stupid man.
At that moment, I realized it was all her plan from the beginning. I was enraged.
An ordinary man like you could get married. You should thank me. There's nothing good about you. Not cool, not helpful, no fun. And you're complaining. You are such an ass.
She kept cursing me, which was good enough for the video. I took her phone out of her hand and stopped the stream. I took out the divorce paper that I prepared in advance and put it on the table. Now she completely changed and said, just like when I first saw her on the street,
Are you abandoning me when I have nowhere to go?
but she couldn't deceive me twice. I told her that I would sue her for moral harassment now that I had the evidence, which was her live stream I just had recorded. Now she had tears in her eyes.
You're all I have, don't you know?
It's no use. I made up my mind. You should go now. Then she changed back to mean herself again, clicking her tongue.
You ruined my plan of easy living.
The truth is out. I kicked her out and demanded compensation. By the way, she barely had any friends, so the viewers of her live stream were only a handful of her friends and my colleague, Bob. She provided me with enough evidence to owe me compensation in the end. She secretly saved up a portion of my salary regularly, but now she had to use it to pay me back. It was essentially my money, and it's not like she paid me, but at least the cost of living with her was sort of reimbursed, and she won't cost me any more. Sometime after the divorce, I saw Kimmy on the same park bench again. Then a guy approached her saying, "Are you okay?" She repeated it all over again.
My ex took my money and took off.
I came up to the guy and said, "You better watch out for that woman. It's all made up," and left. She waited for another me for a long time, but no one helped her. She became a thing in the neighborhood. They called her a bizarre woman living in the park. I felt a little sorry when she was dirty and hung around, but I decided never again would I be trapped and just passed her by. A few years after the divorce, I met someone else. I was completely over Kimmy. This time, I hope she's normal and hope we care about each other. But I'll be cautious.
My name is Kent. I'm an office worker who lives with my wife, Maria. Although it's small, we have a house near the big city, and I was doing well at work, too. My wife can be shy sometimes, but we were close living together. But I did have a problem. That was my wife's mother. In other words, my mother-in-law, and her annoying demands of moving in with us.
She had lost her husband 3 years ago, and after that, she was living the life of freedom alone. But for the past year and a half, she's been asking if she could move in with us. Her personality was a bit problematic, so I really didn't want to live with her, and my wife thought the same. First of all, moving in with us isn't that easy. We still had extra rooms in our house, but we plan to have children in the future. We explained about our plans and firmly refused, but we also listened to what she had to say and ignored the rest. Then one day she couldn't wait any longer, and she told us to come over to her house. This meant that my wife was visiting her hometown, but she didn't seem excited at all. As soon as we arrived, her mother made us sit formally on the floor. With the savings and insurance money her husband left her, I heard the rumor that she was spending extravagantly. In truth, that day she was wearing fancy branded clothes, as if to intimidate us.
Well, I bet you know why I called you here. Kent, Maria.
She was ready to scold us. Her daughter and her husband came to visit from the city, but this was definitely not the attitude she was supposed to have. We were both silent, and she yelled at us.
You better give me a clear answer today. Are you letting me move in with you or not?
We've talked about this so many times already, and every time we refused her request. In her mind, the fact that we refused her request to move in with us had disappeared from her memory, and she thinks we still haven't given her the final answer. As if to stop us from talking, she started talking endlessly. Like,
You're here because of your ancestors. It's natural that you respect your ancestors and respect the elderly. It's the duty of the young generation. So it's obvious you should let me move in with you.
her speech continued endlessly, and she finally gave us some room to speak while she rested from her endless talking.
First of all, why are you so against the idea of me moving in with you, Kent?
Actually, I'm curious why you hate me so much that you never listen to me. I hope you can tell me the reason, I said sarcastically.
Oh, I never disliked you, never.
Really? You say you don't make much money despite being a man, and although it's in the city, how come your small house doesn't even have a garden? I remember you saying that so many times. To be honest, I work very hard every day, but you kept on saying these things, and I felt hurt.
Oh, that was what my neighbors said. Everyone told me so that's why I told you that. You know, the neighbors I'm close with have sons and grandchildren your age, okay? So the fact that you don't make as much money as others and that you built a small house without a garden often becomes the talk of the town, so I can't really do anything about it even if you complain.
Then please tell me the names of your neighbors. The average annual salary is just the average. I'll tell them that it really depends on the person. I don't want them to embarrass themselves by chit-chatting using the wrong information. Also, I'll teach them that it's common in the city to see houses without a garden. Well, it might be rare in the countryside, like here.
You're rude. Are you going to ruin my relationship with my neighbors? I'm telling you this so many times, but you should respect the elders more.
Those who complain about others' salary and their homes are the rude ones.
Just because they were right at pointing out your cheap salary, you don't respect the elders, refuse to let your mother-in-law move in with you, never listen to what others say, and complain nonstop. Everyone empathizes with me for having such an awful son-in-law.
What do you mean by everyone? Every time I come here, I greet your neighbors and update each other on what's going on recently. Mrs. Ivans and Mrs. Frederick live next door, right? Mrs. Ivan's son works as a dispatch worker, so I think he makes less money than me. In the case of Mrs. Frederick's son, he's been jobless since he graduated college. And she said he was giving her a headache always wandering around. Or are you referring to the other?
Shut up. When I say neighbors, they're just my neighbors, okay? When I say everyone, I mean everyone. I'm getting old, so I forgot who said what.
I thought you were still 50. There are people who still work at your age.
Others are others, but I am me. Why do you keep quibbling?
Others are others? But you always refer to your neighbors and everyone else and pressure me all the time. How come you say others are others just when you're talking about yourself?
What's with those eyes? How dare you look at someone older than you like this?
I knew it. You hate me. I can't believe you want to move in with us.
No, it's not like I hate you. I'm just telling you what others told me.
Who are the others you're talking about? For a while, my mother-in-law kept on making similar excuses and kept on scolding me. After saying whatever she had on her mind, it seemed like she felt a bit refreshed.
If you have any complaints, now's the opportunity to spit it all out. I'm listening to everything you have to say.
I had waited a year and a half for this moment. Then let me start. I bet you think that you can insult me any way you want as long as you say that everyone else was saying so. And you also think that you don't have to apologize.
Huh? Have you gone mad? I'm just telling the truth. Why do I have to apologize? I'm actually being kind enough to tell you what my neighbors think. You might want to thank me, but I never expected you to say something like that.
I actually went to check, but none of the neighbors said any of the things you said.
Are you stupid? Who would tell you straight in the face that you don't make much money?
And when you visit someone else's house, can you stop bringing home valuables? At first we thought a thief broke in, and both my wife and I were creeped out. Please return what you brought home without permission. First of all, you're crazy for visiting someone's house and rummaging through their things without permission.
Ugh.
She seemed like she had no words to talk back. And you keep on complaining about my income, but you've never had a job and made money yourself. You've been taken care of by your parents, then your husband, and after their death, you live on the inheritance.
It's because I didn't have to work.
Most importantly, we've been rejecting your request to move in with us so many times, but you force us to visit you and pressure us. Do you think we'd want to live with someone who does these things to us?
I just thought that you wouldn't understand how I really felt across the phone, so I wanted to talk about this in person.
First of all, I heard that you firmly refused to move in with your mother-in-law.
That's what happened in the past. I'm talking about the present.
It makes me irritated to see you act unfairly by changing the topic and blaming others, so can you stop it? So, I firmly refuse to have you move in with us. I made my position clear. Then my wife, who had been silent all this time, joined me.
Same here.
Her mother was in shock. Her face went red and she opened her mouth to say something. She seemed like she wanted to say something, but all the things I said were true, so she had trouble talking back. We then left her house. After telling her everything I had on my mind, I felt refreshed. I had been holding it in for a year and a half, so it was an amazing feeling. She was the one who encouraged me to tell her whatever I wanted to say. So as a result of complaining about this past year and a half, she finally seemed to understand that it was impossible for us to live together. She cried on the phone about it, but we ignored all of it. We actually knew why she wanted to move in with us. Not only that she never had any working experience, but because of her extravagant spending, she used up all of her inheritance, so she was running out of money. As expected, she was short of money, so she got a part-time job for the first time in her life. And I heard that she's forced to work under a young boss who doesn't respect his elders. My name is Sean, age 28. I work as a police officer. I've always strived for fairness, and I've dreamed of becoming a police officer since I was little. I just got married to Lily, who I got in touch with through our mutual friend. Lily was always smiling and had a bright personality. My job was hard every day, but her smile pushes me forward. But one day, when I went home from work, I got involved in a weird accident. That night, Lily was doing the laundry for me, so I wanted to lessen the burden on her. So I decided to iron my uniform that I was planning to wear. When I asked Lily where it was, she told me it was upstairs, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I went downstairs and we looked for it together, but we couldn't find it. And we thought it was an emergency and looked for it all over the place. But my uniform was nowhere to be found. Did a thief break into our house? They say the police uniform is pretty popular among maniacs.
But I was always at home today. I would have realized if a thief broke in.
Then did someone visit you today?
Yeah, Sally came over, so we had tea together.
Sally was our neighbor. She was like the boss mom in our neighborhood, and it seemed like she'd been living here from long ago before we moved to this place. I see. I doubt our mom friend would do that. When I said that, Lily seemed like something was bothering her, so I asked her if there was anything wrong. Then she said that when her mom friend went to use the bathroom, she went to use the one upstairs for some reason. It's weird when you think of it. If someone else was also visiting, it's possible that they might want to use the bathroom at the same time, but she went upstairs when there were only the two of them. And we didn't have a bathroom on the second floor. When Lily called to her from downstairs, she came down in a hurry as she said,
I thought the bathroom was upstairs.
And Lily got a bit confused. But because she was the boss of the mom group, she couldn't really complain. And after talking for about 15 minutes, she quickly went home. But she said her bag looked a bit stuffed when she left. So we quickly went to visit Sally's house. And when we directly asked if she knew where my uniform was, she suddenly got really mad and screamed that we were suspecting her of being a thief and that there was no way she would steal. She refused to let us inside. Then Sally proceeded to insult me in all possible ways, although I was a police officer.
There's been a lot of bad news about the police lately. You think you're better than us just because you work for the police? Oh, despite being the police, some are the sex predators themselves and tease little kids too.
Does that have to do with what we're talking about now?
Yes, considering how often these things happen, we can't trust someone who's a police officer. You're even visiting me now at such a late time. Gosh, I can't stand my taxes being used on people like you.
I knew our conversation wasn't taking us anywhere, so I called the police and told her that I'll have them collect the data of her fingerprint.
Oh, I don't think it's a big deal, even if they found my fingerprint at your house. I visited your place today.
Yes, of course, but if your fingerprint was found in the room where my uniform was hung, we'll have to take you to questioning. With those words, Sally seemed to realize something and went pale. If you're not related to this problem, I don't know why it's such a big deal. At that moment,
No, you can't collect my fingerprints. Don't make this big.
after she suddenly shouted in a loud voice, she ran inside her house looking furious. "Hey, Sally!" We ran after her with her husband, but she was cleaning up something in the trash in a hurry. "Let me see that." When I forcefully took the trash can away from her, surprisingly, I found the police uniform inside. Why is this here?
Shut up. This is what I bought for myself.
Sally yelled as she panicked. What a stubborn person she is, making an unbelievable excuse. So I decided to tease Sally a bit. "Oh, I see. Did you buy it online?"
Yes, what's your problem?
"I see. I didn't know you loved it so much. Do you have a uniform fetish, ma'am? There's a lot of people like you nowadays."
What? Don't tease me about my preferences.
I saw her husband looking down with his face reddening, so I thought it was about time. "Then can I ask one last thing? It's true that there are police uniforms for cosplay purposes made for people like you, but what's this name here?" When I flipped the uniform, I found my full name printed there. Seeing that, Sally panicked
This is,
and seemed like she was trying to think of a way to get out of this situation. Uniforms for cosplay purposes don't have names printed on them. First of all, if there's a name printed on them, they won't sell. If you're interested, do you want to check the uniforms of other officers as well? You can find their names printed on it like mine. When I said that, the husband, who figured that there was no way out, apologized to me. Sally said,
what is your problem? We're mom friends. It's not a big deal. Oh, you're so stingy.
So I replied, "I don't care what you think about us, but some people plan to use uniforms for crimes, not cosplay purposes. So this is a very big deal. I hope you can regret your actions at the police station."
Huh? Why do I have to go to the police station? I returned it to you already, so let me go.
"I can't do that. It's the undeniable truth that you went to the second floor in our house without permission and stole something." I guess she never expected that, so she said to Lily,
Hey, you should help me persuade him. Are you gonna make your mom friend a criminal?
She begged for her help. Then Lily replied,
There's no way I'm friends with someone who looks down on my precious husband. Go on and regret your actions with your husband.
Hey, oh, you have to be kidding. Am I gonna get arrested because I stole one pair of clothing? No way.
As she said that, I arrested her and took her to the police station. She said it was just a set of clothing, but it's really scary when something goes missing from your house without you knowing. She's already crazy for thinking that's no big deal. After that, they weren't thrown into jail, but the incident quickly became a rumor in the neighborhood, and she quickly lost her boss position. Everyone laughed at her for being a couple that loved cosplay. I don't intend to say anything about the couple's preferences when they make love, usually. It's not something others should tease or complain about, but they really messed up the process. Well, my colleague told me later that she always felt jealous of Lily, who was bright and loved by everyone, and she was also jealous that I was a police officer. She always wanted to marry a police officer since she was little, but her husband was a teacher, so maybe she wanted to live her dream using the uniform. But after the incident, her husband was no longer able to go to his workplace. So at the end, they moved out within half a month. My boss told me to be careful, but what happened this time is extremely rare, and he knew that Lily wasn't at fault, so he didn't give me any punishments. I obviously got a new uniform. I understand it in my head, but when I imagined them having fun during the night with my uniform, I just couldn't wear it. My boss told me that he rarely accepted requests for new uniforms because our names were printed on them, but he understood how I felt and agreed to get me a new one as an exception. Well, they really deserved their fate, but I think I'm glad they stole my uniform just for cosplay purposes. With just one of my uniforms, a big crime could happen.
My name is Hannah. I had an arranged marriage with Richard in my hometown. Due to my husband's job, I left my hometown and moved to the city. We live as a family of 2, but living in the city was pretty pricey.
Save money!
That's what my husband always said. So I went shopping riding a bike, not a car. On my way home, the driver was sleep driving and a car crashed into me. I was tired from continuously working my part-time shifts and all the housework, so I couldn't judge fast, unable to dodge the car. Fortunately, in this unfortunate event, the driver was at fault, so I didn't have to worry about the financial stuff. While I was hospitalized, I asked my husband to get me a change of clothes. I was not in the state to go back home to get my clothes, but for the past 2 or 3 days, I wasn't able to get in touch with my husband. I contacted him over and over again, and I finally got to call him. But he suddenly insulted me.
Do you not understand that I'm ignoring your calls on purpose? I'm busy with work. Can't you get the idea?
I know that you're busy, but I think you can at least get your wife a change of clothes and bring it to the hospital.
Huh? Actually, you should be the one taking care of me, like doing the laundry and cleaning the house. Why do I, the husband, have to take care of you?
I'd do it myself if I could, but I'm not in the state to go back home and get myself a change of clothes. But it wasn't like he was visiting me at the hospital to check on me. Without a frank, "How are you doing?" he randomly threw my clothes to me and went home so quickly. But that was just the beginning. After being hospitalized for half a month, I was unable to reach him completely. This past week, he never answered my calls. Is he sick, or did he get into an accident? In a state where I was unable to move as I liked, I kept on having negative thoughts. I was worried about my husband from the bottom of my heart. Amidst all that, my friend who was visiting the city came to visit me at the hospital. Well, thanks for stopping by. It's fine, no biggie. By the way, how are you doing? Well, not bad, I guess. I'm recovering. I see. She mumbled. Hey, I don't know if I should tell you this when you're like this, but... Huh? I actually saw your husband walking with Samantha, the girl in our hometown who's famous for being beautiful. If that's all, it's not a big deal. They weren't just walking together, but they had the same luggage and wore fancy clothes. As our hometown isn't that big, I bet my husband had always known Samantha. But it was hard to believe that he went on a trip with another woman while his wife was in the hospital. When did you see him? I think about a week ago. It was just the time when he never answered my calls. After my friend left, I called his company and he told me that he was having a paid leave. As his company knew that his wife got into a car accident, it was easy for him to ask for paid leave. I bet they obviously thought that he would take care of his wife. After calling him again and again, he finally answered.
What? So annoying!
Where are you right now?
At work, obviously. I thought I told you so many times not to call me during work because I'm busy. You're a sloth who was lazy enough to get into a car accident, but looks like your head also works slow.
I didn't back down with those insults and continued to ask him a question. Let me guess, you're with Samantha, the beautiful girl in our hometown, aren't you?
Oh, you knew? That was faster than I expected.
My husband easily revealed what was going on.
You know now, I'm on a trip. I'm having a great time, so don't disturb us.
Huh? What are you saying? You're cheating on me. Do you understand that? And you're doing this right after your wife got into an accident?
Shut up! Who can spend more time with an ugly girl like you? I thought I should prioritize stability in marriage rather than visuals, but I really can't bear it. What's important between a man and a woman is their compatibility, obviously during the night.
I was at a loss for words.
Oh, yeah, don't forget to fill in the divorce papers. I went on a trip with her for a week and I got to check that we were really compatible, so I'm gonna get divorced and live with her.
My husband hung up on me. I supported the household for all these years, but this is what I get? I had mixed feelings of regret and anger. I couldn't even sleep at night. The next day around noon, Samantha, my husband's lover, suddenly gave me a call.
Richard is dead.
Huh? What are you saying? She told me that my husband was dead, so I was in shock. When I asked her what happened as she panicked, she told me that after they came back from their trip, my husband got into an accident. She said he was covered in blood and didn't move at all. Huh? Which hospital was he taken to? When she said the name of the hospital, I was surprised. It seems like he was taken to the hospital where I was hospitalized. I explained what was going on to my nurse, and she took me to where my husband was at. To be honest, Samantha told me he was dead, so I was a bit scared, thinking I might have to face his corpse in the hospital morgue. But when I entered the room the nurse took me to, my husband was alive. It seems like Samantha rushed to a conclusion because she was panicking so much. But he was badly hurt, so he'll have to live with the after effects. He'll have to live in a wheelchair even after he gets to leave the hospital. He called me a lazy sloth, but looks like he won't be able to move any faster than me from now on. I guess I should feel sad or devastated, but my love for him was long gone. He was a guy who had an affair while I was hospitalized, who insulted me, and who decided to get a divorce one-sidedly. There was no way I can still love him. Seeing the poor guy who would have to live the rest of his life in a wheelchair sleep on the bed, I thought I might have second thoughts on what I decided, but that never happened. Then his parents rushed inside. I told everything to them, including what he said to me and the accident he had when he was with his lover. My parents-in-law bowed their heads deep and apologized to me. Of course, I told them that I was planning to get a divorce. I accidentally came across the scene when his parents were telling my husband about his body. I was outside his room, but I heard him scream.
I can't walk on my own anymore! I don't want that!
I successfully recovered and got out of the hospital, and I made my husband and his lover pay $300,000 as compensation. It turns out she had a fiancé she had been dating for a long time, but their engagement was broken off. Her story became famous in the neighborhood, and her parents, who felt humiliated, broke relations with her. Her ex also made her pay $100,000 as compensation. It seemed like she was never serious with my husband, so she dumped him soon after. Samantha never visited my husband at the hospital. I think it was very unfortunate for him to get into an accident, but I just couldn't forgive the sins of my husband. I wasn't such a horrible person who would laugh at his fate, but honestly, I think he deserved it. A few days later, I went into his room at the hospital with divorce papers in my hand. As soon as he saw my face,
Hey, why aren't you answering my calls? Your husband is hospitalized. You should at least come visit me every day. And I'm out of new clothes, so bring me all my necessities from home.
How dare you say that to me? Have you ever visited me while I was at the hospital? Have you ever brought me new clothes before I asked you to? I yelled back. First of all, while I was in pain on the bed in the hospital, you were having an affair.
Wait, Anna, I regret everything I did. Now that the bottom half of my body doesn't move, I finally realized you're my precious one. I'll never cheat on you again. A kind person like you would never dump your husband in this state, right? Right, Hannah?
Stop the nonsense. Of course I'm getting a divorce. I slammed the divorce papers in his face. You're the one who asked me to bring you the divorce papers first. I divorced Richard. He was able to get out of the hospital, but he went crazy out of despair, went berserk at work, and got fired. Now that he was in a wheelchair, he never came to my house. But he sent me a lot of annoying mail, but I blocked him. Since then, I never contacted him. From his parents, I received an email saying they would force him to pay $300,000 as compensation no matter what. I heard that he was working a part-time job that was doable in a wheelchair.
My name is Thomas. I had a girlfriend named Karen whom I had been dating for a few years. We weren't living together yet, but I had already met her parents a number of times, and she had met my family as well. In our situation, we were practically engaged. Then one day, out of nowhere, she told me she had a new guy joining our team that was going to be her junior colleague. That in itself should have been a great thing to hear, and I was happy for her. However, ever since then, it became all she would talk to me about. Even when she and I would be alone together, she was always talking to me about this junior colleague of hers. Of course, that wasn't interesting for me at all, so I decided to confront her about it one day. Hey, you've been talking about that guy a lot recently. To be honest, it's not so nice for me. Because think about if it were the opposite situation. Wouldn't you be a little bit frustrated if I was always talking about a girl from my workplace, especially if you don't know her? When I said that, her response was,
What? Are you being serious? What is this, jealousy?
even though I was trying to have a serious conversation with her, she just tried to laugh it off and brush it off. I tried not to think too much of it, but that is until one day when I happened to go over to the apartment where she was living. To my disbelief, I saw that junior colleague of hers walking out of her apartment. At that time, more than anger or sadness, I was more overwhelmed with the feeling that, of course, that was the situation. Because even when I was alone with my girlfriend, she was always talking about this guy who was apparently her boyfriend. And, well, of course, any love that I had left for her instantly blew away in that moment, and I decided without thinking twice about it that we were going to break up. However, it was really irritating to me that I was simply a victim and she got to do whatever she wanted. So in addition to breaking up with her, I decided to get my justice. On that day, I decided not to go to her apartment, and I simply went straight home. After that, I applied for some days off of work, and I received 3 days off. On the very first day, I went and purchased a video recorder. That evening, I went to my girlfriend's apartment, and I acted like everything was normal. We were having dinner as we normally would, and I told her that starting from tomorrow, I'd be going away on a business trip from one night, and that I would be back in 2 days. But then my girlfriend put on an act and said,
Aw, I'm gonna miss you so much.
That's what she said in words, but I could see it in her eyes as she was smiling. And that's probably because she knew that if I wasn't around, she would be able to meet up with her boyfriend as much as she wanted. But she had no idea the punishment that I had waiting for her. And so the next day, I grabbed the video camera that I bought and rented a car, and I parked the car in the parking lot outside my girlfriend's apartment. And I waited there. Not long after waiting, Karen came home. And just as I expected, she wasn't alone. She was walking hand in hand with her boyfriend as she went into her apartment. And then I quietly got out of the car and I went up to her apartment and I put my ear against the door. Just as I imagined, the two of them were completely switched on and they were having a grand old time in their own little world. Even though it was the middle of the day in the afternoon and their window was open and I could see everything inside, they didn't seem to pay any mind to that and were getting prepared to get things on as they were getting undressed to get in the shower. From there, I needed the rest of my plan to go smoothly, and I was going to call her father and expose the disgraceful behavior of his daughter. And so I stepped away from the door of our apartment and I picked up the phone and I called her father. He picked up immediately and sounded happy to hear from me. "Hey, Thomas, what's going on?" Her father answered the phone in high spirits. When I heard his voice, I have to admit that it did hurt me a little bit with what I was about to tell him. But I took a deep breath and I told myself what I needed to do. "I'm sorry to bother you. I'm calling you today because I'm going to be breaking up with your daughter." When I said that, of course, her father started panicking on the other side of the phone, and he asked me what my reasoning was. I think if you take a look at the video that I'm about to show you, you'll be able to understand why. That was all I said, and then I asked her father to switch the phone to a video call. And then, with one hand, I turned on the video camera that I had, and on the other hand, I connected it to my cell phone. And then, with both hands fully repaired, I barged into my girlfriend's apartment. When I slammed the door open, I announced myself loud and clear. "Yes, hello, nice to see you all," I said with a bright and happy and energetic voice. I was picturing myself like I was on TV, one of those shows where they prank celebrities and barge in to reveal the prank to them. The two of them had already come out of the shower and they were right in the middle of the act. When the doors slammed open, they both looked up and they saw me standing in the doorway. My girlfriend and her boyfriend were fully naked on top of each other, and they froze on the spot. "Yes, nice, this is perfect, don't mind me, keep going, keep doing what you were gonna do." And I turned both cameras towards them. "Karen, say hello to your father. Sir, are you seeing all this? Are you catching this?" As I said that, I also turned on the light to the bedroom. My girlfriend and the guy were still frozen in their position, butt naked, and then I turned the phone on speaker, and I could hear her father absolutely panicking. In the end, I heard him say, "I'm going to be right there, you better not move," and he hung up the phone. For the record, she finally spoke up and said,
What? Why? What's going on? How? What?
Karen was panicking, but then suddenly her boyfriend pushed her off of him, and even though he was butt naked, he tried to make his escape. But obviously there's no way that I was gonna let him get away. The moment he tried to pass by next to me, I kicked him right in the abdomen and knocked him over. And then I grabbed the naked man's body and threatened him by saying, "If you try to run away now, you know your life is going to be over." When I said that, the guy started shaking from head to toe, and he froze on the ground. Fortunately, at that moment, the camera was facing a different direction, so me kicking him and threatening him were not on camera. Then, as if she was reading from a script, my girlfriend started, saying,
This isn't what it looks like. It's all a misunderstanding. You have to forgive me.
She kept repeating. During that time, her father and mother arrived at the apartment. Based on how quickly they arrived, they must have sped down the highway to get here as soon as possible. As soon as they arrived, her father went in to tie his daughter down, and her mother was also helping him. I did think it was a little bit much to record the violence, so I decided to turn off the cameras at this point. While her parents were busy with her, I asked the guy if he was married or not, but he told me that he wasn't married and he was living at home with his parents. But I made him pull out his driver's license and I took note of his home address. I told him that I was going to come to his house and tell his parents everything that happened, but the man was simply crying on the floor. "Please, anything but that! Please spare me!" It was all he could say. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but this woman and I were actually engaged. And after destroying that situation and completely destroying my life, you better not think that you're gonna get away with nothing here. As I said that, I threw his clothing at him and I threw him out of the apartment. And then when I looked over at my soon-to-be ex-girlfriend, she was sitting on the bed sobbing as her parents yelled at her. I didn't care what happened to my ex-girlfriend at that point, so I told her on the spot that we were going to be breaking up. And of course we weren't going to be getting married anymore, so I served her the court papers for the settlement fee. When she saw that, my ex-girlfriend screamed,
No, please, no!
It was such a high-pitched shriek, and then her parents got down on their knees to apologize to me. "Please, Thomas, is there any way that you could please forgive her?" They were desperately begging me, but there was no way I was going to consider it. But it's not like things could all be settled on the spot, given what a disaster it was. And since this was our engagement and it was also going to involve my parents, I decided to let things calm down for the time being. But of course, I had already firmly decided that there was no way I was ever going to marry this woman. And then, a couple of days later, we decided to have a discussion with all of the family present at our house. Although it wasn't much of a discussion, it was more so that me and my parents told them that we were going to cut off all ties with them, and she and her parents got down on their knees and were continually apologizing to us. Of course, my parents had known my ex-girlfriend for a number of years at this point, and because we were also engaged already, they thought that she was going to become their future daughter-in-law, and they didn't have any suspicions about her. But after this incident, this meant that their son was being played for all of these years. So of course there's no way that they were going to forgive her, and my mother in particular was furious at her.
I can't believe that you were about to make such a witch and a slut your wife. This must be some kind of joke. You better hurry up and pay that full settlement fee, and you are never going to show your face in front of my son ever again.
I had never heard my mother raise her voice like that. Of course, neither my father nor I were going to disagree with that. We simply nodded our heads. In the end, her parents had no choice but to accept the situation as well. And then, I also made sure that her boyfriend got the punishment that he deserved. I sent a full notice of events to not only his family hospital, but also to his company, and I collected a full settlement fee from him as well for the destruction of our engagement. But then one day, I don't know where he got my phone number from, but I received a direct phone call from the guy. "Hey, why did you have to tell my parents and my workplace about what happened? I asked you not to say anything. I begged you to just let me go. Thanks to you, my life is a disaster. You've ruined everything." When he said that to me, crying, I couldn't help but laugh. What do you mean, why? I only did the obvious. You were my fiancé's junior colleague, and you took that position and stole my fiancé and destroyed my engagement and therefore my future. Surely you thought about the consequences when you did that. All I did was to sleep with her. Why am I having to pay a settlement fee? What's going to happen to me now? What's going to happen to the rest of my life? You're probably going to spend the rest of your life paying the settlement fee to me and dealing with the regret of what you've done. When I said that, he was crying and screaming on the other end of the phone, but it was none of my business anymore. I found out that because he laid hands on his senior colleague at work, everybody in the office found out about it, and they shunned him. He was no longer able to go to work anymore, and he resigned. I also heard that he was kicked out of his family home. As for my ex-fiancée, her company found out that despite having a fiancé, she laid hands on her junior colleague at work, and just like him, she was shunned by everyone at work. She was no longer able to stand it, and she also resigned from the company. I received multiple messages from her crying and begging for forgiveness, but of course I ignored all of them. She was trying to say things like, I couldn't believe that my ex-fiancé, who was laughing and saying that I was just being jealous, was now begging to get back together with me. But of course there was no way that I was ever going to want to start over with her, so I ignored all of her messages. And in the end, I had the two of them pay a high, full settlement fee towards me. Thanks to that, they were both left riddled with debt, and I heard that they were both disowned by their parents. But they did it to themselves. They only got what they deserved.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.